Hello, class 9. We are back with the chapter, the fundamental unit of life, the next part. So far, we have discussed about the plasma membrane and the discovery or the history of the cell. Now, let's discuss about the nucleus as well as the cytoplasm of the cell. Let's start it first, the nucleus. Nucleus. It is also known as the brain of the cell. Why it is known as the brain of the cell? Because it controls all the activities of the cell. That is why it is known as the brain of the cell. It is the largest cell component and can easily be observed under the microscope. So let's learn more about its structure. First, it includes all these four material, that is nuclear envelope, nucleoplasm, nucleolus and chromatin material. So this is the complete structure of the nucleus. Let's learn about first the nuclear membrane. It is a double layered membrane. You can see here it is the double layered membrane, and it separates the nuclear material from the cell cytoplasm. Cell is having the other fluid like material, so its nuclear membrane separates it from that. The nuclear membrane functions same as that of the plasma membrane, as it is a protective covering and allow the passage of material from inside and outside of the cell. So outer membrane of the nuclear envelope, it may having the ribosomes also. So what are ribosomes? We are going to discuss about more. Let's do the next part, that is the nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm is the dense colorless. It is the colorless sap present inside the nucleus. The nucleolus and the other thread-like structures, they are suspended in the nucleoplasm. In it, different enzymes, ions, proteins are also presented, so that all the function will be in a proper manner. Next is your nucleolus. Nucleolus, it could be in one or it could be more in number, present inside the nucleus. It is a spherical body and which is not having any membrane around it, or not having any membrane, so it appears round when we look in the microscope. It is responsible for the formation of the ribosomes. Ribosomes, what are ribosomes? Ribosomes are responsible for the protein formation. So according to this, we can say that the nucleolus is the site of formation of the factory of the protein synthesis. You can say that the ribosome factory is here, so that it forms the ribosomes which are responsible for the protein synthesis. Next is nuclear pore. Nuclear pore is a part of the nuclear membrane. When nuclear membrane is attached, so it is having some pores in between them which allow the exchange of material inside and outside of the cell. It could be the selective, it might be having any channels present in them that could selectively transport the material inside the nucleus. Next, an important part of this nucleus is the chromatin. Chromatin's material, it is a thread-like structure which we call them a chromatin fibers that remain suspended in the nucleoplasm. When cell division occurs, means when cell divide into two or more cells, this fiber condense and they will form the thread-like structures again, this kind of structure which we call them the chromosomes, and it is made up of mainly the DNA and protein. You can see here this second structure. This is the chromatin thread that you will observe under the microscope when you normally observe it, and it is a genetic material, hereditary material that transferred from parents to their offsprings, means from in their next generation. So hereditary material that carry the information and that transport the information from parents to their offsprings. Okay, so when the cell division occurs, this material could get highly condensed and form a structure like this. This is chromosomes. These chromosomes, you can see from the structure, they are containing the these are containing the thread-like structures, so we call them the chromatids. And they are joined with each other with this point junction, and this junction is known as centromere. The part of chromatid on either side of the centromere, which we call them the arms. Okay, and these are made up of DNA and proteins. Since DNA, here you can see that this is the structure of the DNA helix, you can see here, right? So DNA carry the genetic information and they form the genes that actually transport or that hereditarily transform from one person to the another person, means to their offsprings, and it contain all the information about the function, existence and the reproduction of the cell. Each organism contains a fixed number of chromosomes present in them. They occur in pairs or they may be occur in single, not in pairs. If they are occurring in pairs, this condition could be called as the diploid conditions, and if they are not in pairs, the condition will call it a haploid condition. That is the 1n means the one pair only, not having the pairs, and 2n means containing the one pair of one character, the information. So finally, the functions, the main function, it controls the unit of the cell. Control unit of the cell means it controls all the cellular activities and helps in the cell metabolism. Second, it contains the genetic material, which we already discussed, the DNA, and during the cell division, it transferred the material, the information about the function, existence and the reproduction through this DNA. So it also help in the cell division, right, by dividing the information. Next, it is the outer membrane or the nuclear membrane. It contains the ribosomes over it, which is the site of the protein synthesis, right? So it's a factory of, next, nucleolus is there, which is a factory of ribosomes, and ribosomes are the responsible for the formation of proteins. So it is also the factory of ribosome, plus it is a site of the protein synthesis as well. So this is all about our nucleus, the brain of the cell. Next part is all about the eukaryote and the prokaryote. What is eukaryote and prokaryote? As we have studied in our earlier organism, the cell, the nucleus is not well defined. Means they are the nucleus, they are not having the special structure around it, like the nuclear membrane or the nuclear pores. So we are not able to differentiate which part is the nucleus and which part is the cytoplasm, which part is the nucleoplasm. So the earlier organisms, they are not having the proper cell membrane bound structures in them, so we call them the prokaryotic cells or the prokaryotes. And now the organism which are having the proper membrane bound organisms, membrane bound organelles around them, like nucleus might be having the nuclear membrane as well as the nucleolus. We can easily differentiate between which part is nucleolus and which part is the cytoplasm, right? So this kind of organism are the eukaryotes organisms. So let's differentiate between them. The prokaryotes, they are generally small, and the eukaryotes could be up to 40 micrometer. The genetic material which it composed of, we call it a nucleoid, because it is not, we cannot easily differentiate between what is the thread-like structure moving here and there. So the undefined mass of the nucleus, we call it a nucleoid, right? And here in eukaryotes, DNA is there with association with the proteins. They form the chromosomes, means they have a specific nucleus region in which they could be present. Organelles that present in the prokaryote, they are very few and they are just surrounded by the plasma membrane. They are not having their own membranes. But in eukaryotes, all the organelles, many of the organelles are present, and they are generally double membrane layer, and we can easily differentiate which part is mitochondria, which part is chloroplast, which part is the nucleus, and other single membrane organelles are also present like endoplasmic reticulum and the lysosomes. So we can easily differentiate between the different organelles in the eukaryotes, but we cannot differentiate that part in the eukaryotes. Cell wall, it is rigid and form of glycoproteins, and the eukaryotes in fungi it is made up of polysaccharides and chitin. In plants it is form of celluloses. So this is all about the prokaryotes. Eukaryotes means the types of organisms or types of cell depending upon the structure of the nucleus and the other membrane bound organelles. Now next part is our cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a fluid-like matrix present between the nucleus and the plasma membrane. It mainly consists of the two parts. First part is the cytosol and the second part is the cell organelles. Cytosol is a fluid part and contains approximately 95% of the water plus ions, vitamins, carbohydrate, lipids, proteins, enzymes, right, which are generally responsible for the metabolic activity of the cell, right? So these substances are used, or we can say that it is the storage house of the ingredients. The cytosol or the cytoplasm, it is the storage house of the ingredients that are required for the metabolic activities in a cell. Plus it also helps in the distribution of these vital important proteins, enzymes, nutrients, other substances in the cell. The next part is your cell organelles, which are the tiny subcellular components and which are specialized to perform specific function in a cell. For example, the different organelles that we talked about, ER, mitochondria. So let's read about these organelles. First we need to know about the function of the cytoplasm. So it is a source of vital chemicals that we already discussed, vitamin, amino acid, glucose, ions, etc. It is a site for the metabolic pathways and activities. Most of the metabolic activities it occurs here, and it is also help in the synthesis of fatty acid, nucleoids, amino acids. It helps in the synthesis, and the synthesis occurs in the cytosol part of the cytoplasm, and which are very very important for the good health of the cell as well as the organism. The different cell organelles that could be found in the cytoplasm, these are endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, plastids, vacuole, peroxisomes. We are going to learn about these organelles one by one in our next video. Till then, keep learning, keep watching the videos, and thank you so much.